2010 is a big year. 10 being a very important number because 10 is completeness. It represents completeness. It also represents the culmination of everything before it. And that's kind of where we are right now, PTA Global. As we go into 2010, we really want to enhance and broaden the perspective in our industry and utilize all the things that have come before us because they're all so important and so valuable. And with that comes something that I want to call kind of quantum training or randomized training, which is just fancy, stupid, cute names for varying your workout, varying the exercise constantly. And it's something that I've used, I know, talking with Michelle Dalcourt and Ian O'Dwyer, my buddies here at PTA Global co-founders, even Scott Hobson, the wonderful Hoppo. We've all done this and utilized it, and many of you probably do it as well and just never really thought about it. But it's the fact of varying an exercise so it's never the same consistent pattern. Now, I know in reality and theory, no pattern is probably ever the same or consistent. It's just very, very similar. But we can take concepts and principles and utilize that to manipulate all of our exercises. And this is the power of what we at PTA Global call the 3D motion checkpoints. The 3D motion checkpoints are 5 simple checkpoints. They include the environment, the beginning position, the drivers, the triangulation, which is made up of 3 different components, the direction I'm moving, the height at which I move, and the distance that I move. And then the actual action. So those 5 checkpoints tell us everything we need to know about any exercise. We can either change the exercise from one to the next, or we can change the pattern of each exercise with every single repetition that we perform. And so that's what I want to talk about. This randomized or quantum training principle is just simply changing and varying the exercise from repetition to repetition. So let's give it an example of that. Now I want to use those 3D motion checkpoints. Environment, meaning what tools am I using? Beginning position, meaning how am I starting? What's my position? The actual drivers, what am I using to actually move my body? The triangulation, what he talked about, what direction am I moving? What height am I moving at? And what distance am I moving to? And then the actual action. So let's take that and apply it. I'm going to use a squat because it's very simple for the purposes and the environment that I have right here. I'm in the back room of my gym here at West Coast Muscle in Yuba City. So I got tires, I've got ropes, I've got all kinds of things. But I just want to go through utilizing a few different principles and show you what that looks like. So let's take a squat. Now, we can change the environment. We can change the beginning position. We can change the drivers. We can change the triangulation, and or we can change the action, but still using the same basic motion. For instance, if I'm squatting, I can then turn it into a jump, something like that. Okay, so let's first start with some simple principles. We talked about foot position. At PTA Global, we use the Gray Institute's nomenclature, and within that they have what's called a safety syntax, meaning I have all these different foot positions. So just looking at foot positions, and I'm going to start with the environment of dumbbells. So my environment is an open room with dumbbells. So just with the foot positions, I can change my beginning position, which is the second point of the 3D motion checkpoint. I can just change my foot position on every repetition, and that's part of this quantum training. So I can start with a neutral on 1 rep. I can go to an RXX the next rep. I can go to an LXX the next rep. I can go to an XWX the next rep. I can go to an XNX the next rep. I can go to an XXI, XXE. So every repetition, I can change the foot position, and that changes the reaction to my whole body. So all I did is took one of those components of the 3D motion checkpoints and manipulated it, beginning position. So my beginning position changed with each repetition. Okay? See how that works? So I can use that. I can use the environment if I so choose. So every repetition I can change my environment. So I can go down with 2 dumbbells, leaving my foot position exactly the same. I can use 2 dumbbells, and depending on how I have things positioned, I can go, 1 second. This is where the art comes into it. So I can go 2 dumbbells, 1 dumbbell right, 1 dumbbell tire, and then I can go medicine ball. So you can change the environment on every repetition. You could be standing on tubing, and so you can go down, drop the dumbbells, pick up the tubing, do the same thing, one side tubing, use a tire, use a med ball, kettlebell, have all these different things. Or if you're training a client, you simply hand them their new environment every single repetition. The whole exercise stays the same. The environment changes from repetition to repetition. You could use a series of kettlebells and their different weights, or a series of medicine balls, or a series of tires. So you can use environmental changes, beginning position changes, driver changes. So I can change my driver. So I can go from just my pelvis moving in the squat to my pelvis, and perhaps I'm having a bilateral hand reach. So I might reach as I squat, or reach as I squat. Now if I change the driver, oftentimes that will immediately change my triangulation, meaning what direction am I moving, what height am I moving at, and what distance. So if I'm now going to add a driver of two hands, then my two hands have to go somewhere. So what direction? Are they going to go anterior? Are they going to go right rotation? Or right anterior lateral? So which direction, at what height? Are they going to go at my knee? Are they going to go at ground? It's going to be a little harder with shoulder with these bad boys. These big old hefty 25-pounders. And then what distance? Am I going to stay close to home? Am I going to go far away from home? So you have all those manipulations. So you can see very quickly that this quantum training is very simple. The only limitation is staying within your comfort zone. If you get too, right? So again, real quick, pick an action, whatever it is you want to do, and you go to it. Okay? Now you go take that, have some fun. Homework is, try that on other exercises. Try it with a push-up. Try it with a bent over row or a row. And don't think that it only applies to free weights. You can do this with a cable. Think of yourself on a cable. Go do a cable standing chest press. You can start here. You have two arms, alternating arms, reciprocating arms, one arm. You have foot positions. You have different heights. Your beginning position that you can start at. You can start here. So you can start adding and manipulating every single repetition. Start very simple, work into more complex. Don't give the client more than they can comprehend, or give yourself more than you can comprehend. But remember what we've been talking about with the Roy Sugarman interviews, even with Bobby Capuccio's latest interview, his blog. All these things, the complexity, changing the complexity, changing the dynamics, making it unpredictable, has a massive impact on brain behavior and body adaptation responses. You guys are awesome. Have a great year. Let's use everything that we have in our toolbox, and let's start breeding enjoyment, excitement, and new ways of training to affect people in new ways this year. Love you guys.